Hi, Dr. Rod. Here is a critical analysis of the article, How Women Leaders' Identities Coexist Through Public and Private Identity Endorsements by Byron and Chadwick, published in 2024. Here is a quick summary. Byron and Chadwick 2024, quote, wanted to investigate how women in leadership positions construct their female and leader identities. Given the juxtapositions separating the identities of leader and women, do female leaders endorse both identities, not only privately in terms of seeing themselves as women and leaders, but also publicly in terms of their desire for others to endorse their leader and gender identities? How do they navigate the competing tensions with respect to these two salient yet divergent identities? End quote, page 61. The authors used a qualitative study where they interviewed 33 females that were in senior leadership positions for over 10 years in North America. They focus on the ascribed identity of being a female and the achieved identity of being a leader. According to Byron and Chadwick 2024, quote, results suggest that female leaders are not necessarily willing to privately endorse and publicly receive endorsements from others of both their leader and gender identity. Rather, they engage in identity hybridization, whereby they construct a woman leader identity by actively managing these private and public identity endorsements to benefit from the complementarity of their leader and gender identities, while mitigating the risks associated with the perceived identity conflicts, as shaped by both self-narratives and structural characteristics. This identity construction process allows female leaders to maintain a sense of agency, effectiveness, and authenticity in the face of their identity tensions. End quote, page 60. Evaluating the article's strengths. A strength of this study is how they interviewed leaders from a multitude of industries. End quote, page 62. In addition, the participants were different ages ranging from 38 to 70 years old. Another strength of this study was how they recorded their interviews and had all of the interviews professionally transcribed, other than one person in the study who did not want to have their interview recorded. Instead, the researchers took extensive notes. Another strength is that after the researchers reviewed their notes, they concluded 4 themes that came out of the interviews. Quote, public regard of leader identity endorsements, private regard of leader identity endorsements, private regard of female identity endorsements, and public regard of female identity endorsements centered around 2 aggregate dimensions of leader and female identities, end quote, Byron and Chadwick 2024, page 63. After coming to these conclusions, they shared this data structure with a subset of the participants from the study to see if these conclusions fit and align with the experiences of the participants. Another strength from the way they wrote out their study was the way they integrated direct quotes from the participants' interview to back up the claims and conclusions from the study. Evaluating the article's weaknesses. A weakness of this study is how they only chose women who are in senior leadership roles and who have been a leader for 10 or more years. They could have taken a larger sample of women in different leadership roles from a lower level leader role to higher executives and broke them into different categories. And the authors could have also included women with varying leadership experiences ranging from a year to over 10 plus years and categorized them into different categories. In addition, it would be worth studying race and how race informs/affects women in leadership positions and how their identity to leadership. Another area of weakness is how the authors changed the way they collected data during the study. At first, they were both together collecting data, and then once they felt they were on the same page, they separated and performed interviews by themselves. This could change the way the participants responded with either 1 or 2 people in the room interviewing. In addition, the authors took note of nonverbal communication. Individually, they could have bias and preconceived notions individually that affect the way they are taking note of nonverbal communication. I think that the research would have been stronger if they both stayed together interviewing all of the participants together, especially to limit bias and discrepancies in note of nonverbal communication. Another weakness I noticed was a lack of a clear definition of what a leader is. But they did make a clear definition of what a leader identity is. In addition, I feel they could have asked the participants what their definition is of a leader and how they feel connected or not to that definition of a leadership in terms of their identity, to see the own participants' individual preconceptions and biases of what a leader is and of themselves. Evaluating the limitations and future research. Limitations from this research included how they only interviewed women in senior leadership roles who have 10 or more years of experience. They are missing insights from other women who are leaders in different roles or who have less experiences. The authors noted that their own bias as women interviewers can impact the way that they perceive the interviews and the way that the participants answer the questions as being interviewed by women. The authors noted the need to include roles of other identities for future research, including a person's age, race, and sexual orientation. They also noted the importance of replicating and extending the findings using different methods and including larger, more diverse samples to be able to generalize results and move the results forward. Lastly, I believe that there's a need for a longitudinal study following women as they advance into leadership roles and a cross-sectional study seeing how women of different experiences in leadership affect their identity and leader as a leader and a woman. Implications for theory and practice. This research expands current research by providing the following contributions, helping, quote, advance the debate on how leader identity construction operates for female leaders. Second, their results contribute to the conversation on how female leaders identify as both women and leaders. Finally, their results provide implications about how leadership scholars and practitioners should emphasize the importance of leader and gender identity to current and aspiring leaders to allow for a more inclusive view of leadership identity. End quote. Byron and Chadwick, 2024, page 60. A practical implication for practice is that, quote, organizations should be careful not to offer a one-size-fits-all leadership identity development program. Promoting the idea that women need to identify as leaders to capitalize on the benefits of a leader identity ignores the potential risks associated with doing so. Women in their study were able to successfully function as leaders despite not personally endorsing a leader identity or because they did not do so. End quote, according to Byron and Chadwick, 2024, page 70. In this study, the participants credited a lot of their success to being publicly endorsed leader identity. According to Byron and Chadwick, 2024, quote, this mimics a form of sponsorship whereby a leader's ability is recognized, validated, and advocated for, as women tend to be over-mentored and under-sponsored relative to their male peers. Their findings suggest that this is a critical opportunity to capitalize on the identity endorsements by others. Organizations who are looking for more women and other minority group members whose ascribed identities conflict with the leader identity to succeed in leadership roles should therefore encourage sponsorship to ensure they receive the public endorsements necessary for leadership. End quote, page 60. Finally, Byron and Chadwick talk about how they encourage organizations to consider how they can be more inclusive and think about how they can promote and reward leadership. Thank you, Dr. Rod. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye.